Welcome to Damaging Hooks, everyone. So, we like to go deep on the most intriguing potential matchups in combat sports. And today, we're really gonna sink our teeth into a heavyweight clash that has the potential to shake up the entire division. Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. We got the analysis here, and we're ready to unpack why this fight is such a big deal for the future of the UFC heavyweight division.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. This goes way beyond a simple title defense. I mean, think about it. You've got Jon Jones, right? The guy is like a legend, a fighter. Many, many people consider the greatest of all time, especially after what he did at light heavyweight, just dominating that division. And now he's the heavyweight champ.
Yeah, and he didn't just win the belt; he just defended it in in pretty dominant fashion against Stipe Miocic. I mean, that's a huge win, right? A win that really solidifies his place, his place in the history books.
For sure. But now on the other side, you've got Tom Aspinall. I mean, this guy in his last fight, he just demolished Curtis Blades. Just a thunderous knockout, and that kind of power, that finishing ability. It brings a whole new element to the heavyweight division, a whole new kind of threat.
Absolutely. When you see a guy who can put anybody's lights out like that, it really changes how you view the entire landscape. Right?
Totally. And that's really what makes this hypothetical fight, right? This potential matchup so fascinating to break down. It all comes down to, like, can Jon Jones, can the legend, can he overcome this new breed of heavyweight, a guy like Aspinall who's got this explosive power and this unique skill set. I mean, what are the real paths to victory for each of these guys?
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty here. There's been a lot of talk, a lot of chatter online about Jon Jones maybe being a little hesitant to face Aspinall. What do you make of that? Is that just fan speculation, or is there something more to it?
What's really interesting here is how Jon Jones has approached his heavyweight run so far. I mean, he won the title from Cyril Gane, who was a top contender, right? And then he just defended it against Stipe Miocic, who's a former champion, right? Multiple-time champion.
Yeah, he's beaten some of the best, no doubt.
He has, but here's the thing. He hasn't yet faced some of these newer heavyweights, these guys who kind of represent a different kind of stylistic challenge. You know what I mean? Guys like Aspinall. And because those fights haven't happened yet, well, the idea that Jones is maybe ducking these guys, it's gained some traction. You know how fans are. They love to speculate. It's the mystery, the unknown that gets them going.
Yeah, it's like when a champion has been at the top for so long, every new contender, they present this new puzzle that hasn't been solved yet, right?
Exactly.
So when we look at Tom Aspinall specifically, what is it about his game, about his skills that makes him such a potentially tricky puzzle for
Right,
Jon Jones to solve? Let's start with the striking.
Yeah.
I mean, his striking has definitely turned heads.
Oh yeah. Aspinall striking for a heavyweight, it's really something special, and it's not just about raw power. He hits hard, don't get me wrong, but it's the speed, it's the technique, the precision. He's throwing these combinations, and you can see he's trying to end the fight with every shot. And as we saw in that Blades fight, he has that one punch knockout power, the kind that can turn the lights out in an instant. But what I find really interesting and potentially dangerous for Jones is his footwork. Yeah, he's incredibly light on his feet for a heavyweight. He can close the distance so quickly, and he switches stances seamlessly. Now you think about Jon Jones, right? Jones, he loves to use that reach, that long reach, to control the distance, to dictate the striking exchanges.
Right, keep him at the end of his jab, use those long kicks.
Exactly. And Aspinall's agility, it could really throw a wrench in that game plan. If Aspinall can consistently get inside that range, inside Jones's reach, without taking too much damage, well, that changes everything. That changes the entire striking dynamic.
Yeah, and it's not just about getting in; it's about what you do once you're there. How do you handle a guy like Jones up close? Right. And that's where Aspinall's technical striking really comes into play. He's not just some wild brawler, swinging for the fences. He's picking his shots. He's setting traps. Think about that jab he threw against Blades, followed by that overhand right. Boom, lights out. That's a classic combination, But he delivered it with such speed, such accuracy, And in that kind of precision, that could be the key for him. If Jones makes even a small mistake, a small defensive lapse, Aspinall has the skills to make him pay, to end the fight right there. So we've got the speed, the technicality, the power. It sounds like Aspinall has the tools to really neutralize Jones's reach advantage, which has been such a huge part of Jones's success throughout his career. Yeah, that reach, it's been a real weapon for him. But what about the grappling aspect? I mean, Jones is known for his wrestling, right? One of the best wrestlers in MMA history.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Jones wrestling, it's legendary. But Aspinall, he's no slouch in the grappling department either. He's shown really good takedown defense. And if the fight does go to the ground, he's dangerous there too. He's got really good submission skills, and he can control guys on the mat. So it's not necessarily about Aspinall going out there and out wrestling Jones, like in a pure wrestling match. I don't think that's the game plan, but his overall grappling ability, his ability to scramble, to get back to his feet, it could force Jones to really work in areas where he's used to having an easier time. Yeah. It might force Jones into those closer grappling exchanges, those scrambles where Aspinall's explosiveness could be a real factor.
Right. And it's not just about stopping the takedown. It's about being a threat, being dangerous if the fight does hit the ground.
Right. You got to make Jones respect you everywhere,
Absolutely. So if we're in Aspinall's corner, right, and he wants to pull off the upset, he wants to walk out of there with the belt. What are the absolute must-dos for him in this fight? Like, what are the keys to victory?
Well, first and foremost, he's got to use that speed, that technical striking to his advantage. He can't be passive. He can't let Jones dictate the pace. He's got to be the one. He's got to be the one setting the tempo. He's got to use his footwork to cut angles, to keep Jones guessing, to prevent Jones from getting comfortable, from setting up his long range games.
So be first,
and be accurate. Landing those clean shots early, those power shots, that could really shake Jones. It could damage him, slow him down, maybe even, open up the possibility for a finish. And then, mixing in those takedown attempts, even if they don't all land, that'll keep Jones on his toes, right? It'll disrupt his rhythm, make him think twice about just planting his feet and throwing those long strikes.
I think I'm guessing.
Exactly. But maybe the most important thing, and this is true for any fighter facing Jon Jones, is distance management. Aspinall has to be so disciplined with his distance, staying just outside of Jones's reach, being just out of range of those long jabs and kicks, but being ready to explode forward, into striking range when the opportunity presents itself. It's a delicate balance.
It's a dance, isn't it?
It really is. It's a high stakes dance, and then you can't forget about the cardio aspect. This is a potential 5-round fight. Against a guy like Jones, who's known for his incredible stamina. Aspinall, he's got to be ready to go hard for all 5 rounds. He's got to be able to maintain that pace, that explosiveness deep into the fight.
So much to think about.
Yeah.
But if he can put it all together, it's a real blueprint for an upset, for sure.
No doubt about it.
Now let's flip the script. Let's look at it from Jon Jones's perspective. I mean, this is a guy who's seen it all, done it all, right?
And done that, bought the t-shirt.
Yeah. So how does a veteran like Jones, a guy with his experience, his fight IQ, how does he approach a fight against a dynamic, dangerous opponent like Aspinall?
Well, for Jones, it's all about going back to the basics, going back to what's made him so successful throughout his career, that incredible reach, the relentless pressure he puts on his opponents, and his fight IQ, which is just off the charts.
He's always thinking a few steps ahead. Right?
He is. And he's got to use those tools to his advantage in this fight. Those front kicks, those jabs, those long elbows. He's got to use them to keep Aspinall at bay, to control the distance, to make Aspinall uncomfortable. And the clinch is going to be huge in this fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jones is so good in the clinch. He uses his strength, his dirty boxing to wear guys down. And of course you can't forget about the wrestling. I mean, Jon Jones's wrestling is still a major weapon. If he can get Aspinall down consistently, control him on the ground, well, that's where he can really start to impose his will. He can look for ground and pound. He can look for submissions. But the key for Jones, the absolute key, is to avoid those long striking exchanges. Those exchanges at close range where Aspinall's speed and power are most dangerous. He's got to drag Aspinall into deep water. He's got to make it a grind, a slow, grueling fight where Jones's experience, his cardio, his fight IQ, all of that, that's where it really starts to pay dividends. And then, we can't forget about the mental aspect. Jon Jones, he's a master at breaking his opponents mentally. He adapts, he adjusts, he figures guys out, and especially in those championship rounds, those later rounds, that's where his experience really shines through.
So for Jones, it's reach management, it's clinch work, it's wrestling, and it's that mental game.
Right. He's got to control. He's got to wear Aspinall down. He's got to get in his head.
And on the other side, Aspinall, he's got to land that big shot. He's got to do damage early before Jones can really implement his game plan. It's classic striker versus grappler, but with a twist, right? I mean, both of these guys, they've got skills everywhere.
Oh yeah, that's what makes it so interesting. It's not as clear cut as some of those classic striker versus grappler matchups we've seen in the past.
Exactly. We've got Jones with his methodical, controlling approach, using his physical gifts and that incredible fight IQ. And then we've got Aspinall, who's this explosive athlete, this dynamic striker, just waiting to capitalize on any mistake Jones makes. I mean, it's what makes this potential fight so captivating,
Yeah.
It's just so unpredictable.
And if we kind of zoom out a little bit, if we look at this fight in the context of the evolution of the sport, I think it really highlights this trend we're seeing where you have these fighters who are, they're blending those traditional martial arts foundations with these increasingly well-rounded skill sets. And this fight, it really asks the question, in the modern heavyweight division, does that calculated control, that high level wrestling of a veteran like Jones, does that still reign supreme? Or can a guy like Aspinall, with his speed, his power, can he represent this changing of the guard, this new era of heavyweight?
It's a fascinating question, isn't it? I mean, we've talked about Jon Jones defending his title against Miocic.
Yeah.
We've talked about Aspinall, knocking out Blades. But the big question is Jones's legacy, is his dominance truly threatened by a fighter like Aspinall? And I think the answer is we just don't know. And that's what makes it so exciting, right?
It is. It's that element of the unknown. And that's where I want to kind of turn it over to the listeners. You guys have heard us break down the contrasting strengths, Jones's control versus Aspinall's speed, Jones's fight IQ versus Aspinall's power. But knowing that both of these guys are coming off big wins, what do you think? What single factor do you think is going to be the deciding factor if these two tight ends actually do clash? It's a matchup that's full of potential turning points, and any one of these factors we've discussed could be the key to victory.
So much to ponder, so many possibilities. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. We'll be keeping a close eye on how this potential matchup develops, and we'll be back soon to break down all the latest news and analysis from the world of combat sports.